Well, for the very latest, let's cross now to Kabul. Our reporter Bilal Sawari is standing by to speak to us. Bilal, first of all, what can you tell us about what's happening in Kandahar, and how significant would it be if that falls from government hands?
Well, the Afghan civilians are caught in the middle of this urban warfare. The front line is now within the center of Kandahar city. And the Taliban managed to breach, the security belts for the city from several directions. We saw the Taliban capturing the Mandigak Palace, which was the sign of power in Kandahar, the home of the former powerful anti-Taliban police chief General Razik, who was also killed a few years ago. And according to some sources, the provincial governor has been in conversation with the Taliban himself. He belongs to the powerful Popalzai tribe. He's only left with, a few bodyguards. So these are very chaotic scenes, creating a lot of fear, not only among residents, but also among the trading community. Afghan businessmen who've invested in the province, in the city, they fear there will be chaos. What we're also seeing that the Afghan special forces, the cream of the crop in Kandahar, who are fighting, trying to prevent the Taliban from taking over like they did today, are only protecting certain locations. So Kandahar is very much contested, with the Taliban having a very upper hand. We also have confirmation that most parts of the city of Herat in western Afghanistan has fallen into the hands of Taliban. And for the moment, this rapid fall of these major cities, these chaotic scenes, and this helplessness among Afghan civilians who really cannot leave these cities. The fighting is literally on their doorsteps, on their streets, is quite painful for the people of Afghanistan.
You've mentioned the situation as well in Herat. Multiple sources there telling us that city, as you suggest, has also fallen into the hands of the Taliban. We're looking at about 11 provincial capitals in a week that the government have lost. Why is the Taliban able to make such fast progress now? And perhaps what is stopping them from taking the country's capital, Kabul?
I think the quick changes in the Afghan national security leadership, the disconnect between Kabul and battlefield commanders, the fact that the Americans withdrew and they announced it so publicly, that meant that these soldiers in remote districts and bases didn't have the same level of air support, or the Americans dropping food, water, and other rations in the middle of the night by air, or evacuating their wounded, all played a very big role in what we see. But it is also true that the Taliban might have had a strategy for talks in places like Doha and fighting on the ground. Secretly, they were reaching out through tribes, through family, through friends, through networks, to a lot of these players and offering them an insurance, saying that if you don't put up a fight with us, we will spare you. I think many people really decided after some time, well, why should we be fighting? The issue of fatigue among Afghan soldiers is something that I've seen myself throughout my travels over the last 3 or 4 years. I've seen soldiers who have not been home for 9 months. Their living conditions were not appropriate. Food, for example, wasn't the food that was allocated to them. So there are massive corruption issues plaguing the Afghan national security forces. And not to really forget, the dividedness in Kabul. The political Kabul is also divided. And the peace process was often seen, if there was one, as a milking cow here in Kabul. Everyone wanted to have a seat there. So I think all of that had a very negative and destructive impact on the psyche of the soldiers and families and people.
Yeah, you're mentioning there the pressures on the Afghan troops, but Western forces have all but left Afghanistan. I wonder, from your reporting, from the people that you speak to, do Afghanis feel abandoned now in the face of this very clear Taliban onslaught?
I think there's a deep sense of betrayal when it comes to the United States of America and other Western countries. We have to really put this into the context of the last 20 years. Some countries will provide visas to certain layers of the society and families, which is great news for those people. But the country as a whole is vulnerable. District police chiefs, prosecutors, others who worked with these countries are now facing a massive risk of being killed the revenge attacks. But with the Americans, I think Afghans have some historical mistrust issues. They think that the Americans abandoned this place in the 1990s when the Russians were not defeated. And that decision really led to the civil war, subsequently to the rise of Taliban, then the 9/11 attacks. So you can also not forget the issue of foreign fighters, organizations like Al Qaeda or Islamic State, the brutality which we continue to see, or the influence of such organizations on Taliban fighters and other militant groups. So there are massive fears. And every Afghan would also say, who's been involved in these events, that fine, the Americans and everyone were leaving, everyone knew there was no military solution, but they should have really made sure that the country had a credible, meaningful peace process. These countries should have put sanctions on Taliban leaders and commanders, that they should not allow them to travel so freely, that they should not have given them legitimacy on the world stage.
All right, Bilal Sawari reporting for us there from Kabul. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us today and bringing us your reporting and your analysis there.